and contains dramatic reenactments and material that may be disturbing to some audience members. Viewer discretion is advised.
A climber on Mount Everest slips into unconsciousness at 28,000 feet.
I was on the edge of death.
Unable to save him without risking their own lives, his Sherpa guides leave him for dead. But he's still alive.
Suddenly, I was in the real world, on this precipice.
Now he faces the impossible, to survive a freezing night alone, without shelter or oxygen on the world's highest mountain.
It was so cold. There was a wind swirling around like a hurricane. I thought, well, this is when I'm actually going to die.
Mount Everest, the highest place on Earth. It's the holy grail for mountaineers and a lifelong obsession for Australian climber Lincoln Hall.
My fascination with Everest began in the 1980s. I became so obsessed with climbing that I just kept going as far with it as I could. And that took me to Everest.
In the early hours of the morning, he's going to make a summit attempt. But it won't be his first. 22 years ago, Lincoln got to within 1,500 feet of the summit before conditions became too dangerous and he was forced to abort his climb.
When I got down to the base camp, I was overwhelmed by disappointment. It was almost like a poison. I just couldn't let that happen again.
But now, aged 50, and with a wife and family, Lincoln knows that this is his last chance.
Having a family made a huge difference to Lincoln. Even though this had been his dream for a couple of decades, not coming back wasn't an option.
I just turned 50 and I was nowhere near my strength that I'd had back in my heyday. And I knew that the only way I was going to get through this was through the strength of my mind.
Okay, George, let's go, mate.
It's close to midnight, and Lincoln prepares to leave the pre-summit camp with his Sherpa guides. In front of them lie 1,800 vertical feet and an arduous 9-hour high-altitude climb.
I had a feeling that I was attempting the impossible.
And Lincoln knows that this year alone, 10 climbers have died trying to reach the summit. At a lower camp, Lincoln's close friend and expedition colleague Mike Dillon is monitoring his climb.
Lincoln and I have been friends for many years. He was one of the best climbers in Australia and a great friend.
Lincoln's left camp, Mike. Over.
We were expecting to hear, hopefully, good news.
Lincoln is now climbing in what's known as the death zone, an altitude starved of oxygen where every step is a test of endurance.
Then the ambition starts to come in and the excitement starts to come in and the energy comes in, because this was my big chance. It was wonderful. There were stars everywhere and it just felt like you'd already left the planet.
As dawn breaks, he reaches what's known to climbers as the second step. It's the biggest obstacle between Lincoln and his dream.
It was just all that joy of the technical part of climbing combined with the world's greatest mountain. The mountains had started to take shape. We could see the ghostly shape of the summit pyramid. With the summit of Mount Everest within my grasp, the amount of effort I was going to have to put in didn't really matter because I knew I did have that energy within me to get to the summit. Those last steps were really difficult, but I knew I would get there.
Lincoln has made it to the summit of Everest. He's on top of the world.
I could just feel this glow of excitement and of joy. It was just the most wonderful feeling. "25 years since I'd started thinking about Everest. And finally I was here. And just the immensity of the view, the distance that you could see, the curvature of the earth. It was just beautiful.
I was just walking past the communication tent when I heard his voice.
Lincoln, it's Mike, over. I can't believe we're here.
It was fantastic because Lincoln deserved it more than anybody.
Finally.
He was perfectly calm. It sounded as though he was ringing from the office.
Thanks, guys.
Just remember, though, you're only halfway there, okay? We'll celebrate when you get back, over.
Somebody has to remind you that although it's a beautiful view, get down is a crucial thing, and get down quickly.
When you get to the summit, you're only halfway there. Reaching the summit isn't being a good mountaineer, it's coming back home every time.
Lincoln knows they must descend immediately from the death zone, as no one can survive at this altitude for long.
The death zone has earned its name because it's at a height where your body is literally dying. With the shortage of oxygen, it's very easy to let a little error slip past you, and that can lead to death.
Lincoln and his guides now face a grueling 3-hour descent to get back to the pre-summit camp.
That extra energy that you had from achieving your ambition, suddenly you don't have that ambition and you're just filled with tiredness. Suddenly, I just felt exhausted. Then I became overwhelmed with lethargy. And I passed out in the snow.
Suffering from a severe form of altitude sickness, oxygen